Hello and welcome to Secrets Mystery Manor. I'm your host, Psychic Zelda Kelly. Warning: this podcast may contain sensitive material. It is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer and listening discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome. Welcome to this episode of Secrets Mystery Manor. Now, I'll tell you, please heed the warning, okay, that I'm going to put in this one because this is creepy. And if things like this bother you, I'm going to give you a good warning that if you get creeped out or things bother you very easily, click off of this one. We understand. Wait to the next one, okay? But I got to share this story with you. It's really creepy. But first of all, I want to thank Psychic Secrets for our platform today. In order for us to bring this to you, Psychic Secrets really helps to promote these videos, and we appreciate that very much. And so thank you, Psychic Secrets, for your giving this time to us. Okay, so you know the drill, everyone. Here we go. It's time to get your snacks. That's right. Popcorn, chips. I like those red I can't even talk, right? Those red licorice twists. There, I got it out. I like a little bit of candy, and I like a little bit of Parmesan cheese and butter on my popcorn. That's always a good one. But don't forget, now, also to get the drinks. You need something to wash all that down with. And while we're sitting here talking, you may as well have a snack or two. But the most important thing is get your little teddy bear and your blanket and snuggle in, because you're going to need that. You're going to need it, believe me, for this one. Now, the other thing is we have the kitty tribe. You know, they call a group of cats a cloud. Isn't that interesting? Well, my cloud has descended. They've been playing, so you're going to hear little meows and jumping around, and so all this creaking and twisting and turning and maybe even a little sigh or two, that's not paranormal, it's per-unnormal, okay? But it's normal around here, and for those of you who love to listen to these, I sure do appreciate you understanding. They're my family. They got to be here. So without further ado, years ago, I was still living in Ohio, and I was visiting with my grandmother and my step-grandfather. My step-grandfather worked at General Motors in Ohio. And I've got to tell you, he found out that this family that lived near where my grandparents lived were going on vacation to Indiana. They got into an automobile accident, and unfortunately it killed all of them. That's right, all of them, the entire family, and it included, I think, a grandparent as well. So that means children as long as the parents. Now, I'm going to give you the warning again now. You can click off. Now is the time for you to click off if these things bother you. All right? So, going forward, there was a lot of talk about this house, and it sat empty. Actually, it was not empty, but there was no one there. And people had found out that worked with my grandfather that, and by the way, I call him my grandfather because there are no steps in my home except to get from one floor to the other, right? We don't have that. We're all family. So my grandfather worked didn't know this man, but they were a young family. But he knew who he was. So everyone was saying, you've got to go out to the house. You've got to go to this house. Now, you know my grandmother. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, my grandmother was very psychic, very intuitive, and she was very, very well known, I believe, in that area through a few states. And she worked in a time where we didn't have a lot of the psychic shows or a lot of psychic things that we do now. And believe me, she was excellent. So right away, my grandmother calls me and says, "Zell, we got to go over to this house." So we went in the daytime, and we were going to drop Grandpa off for his afternoon shift. We went out to lunch first. We decided we were going to go to this house. Now, when I think back, I felt so uncomfortable going into this home. I felt even so uncomfortable talking about it. And I'm not advising anybody to do any of that. I just want you to know, okay? But we did it. We went over to this house after lunch and before Grandfather's shift at General Motors. So we walked in, we went through the garage, we walked in, and there was just a certain air in this house you could not explain. My grandmother grabbed onto my arm and she would not let me go. And it was not because she was afraid, it was because she wanted to hold on to me. There were definitely entities there. It was definitely an occupied home, but not with human beings. It really bothered us because there were pictures up. There was the electric was still on. There were things you could tell that they had packed their suitcases and ready to go. And there were notes on the kitchen cabinets that they had made for a grocery list for when they got back. I mean, it was very, very sad. And walking around through this home with all these furnishings, finishes, the electric was on, the refrigerator was on, there was food in the refrigerator for everything that was going on like that. And of course, there had been other people there because it had been talked about at my grandfather's works at the shift, on his shift. So it was sad, very horribly sad. But the more that we walked through this house, the heavier it felt. I mean, entirely heavy. We could feel a breathing. We could feel a cold air coming through some of the rooms. My grandmother would really pick up on things like that, and she would say how chilly she was in this home. And I mean, it was in the summer when we were there, and it was not chilly at all. It was quite warm in this house, but she was remarking how chilly it was and how it was she was very uneasy there. We don't know what it was, honestly. And to this day, when I look back, I'm not sure if there was something there that was there with his family before they left, or if it showed up after, or if it had been there during the time they were there. Nobody will know. I mean, nobody knows at all. It was a split-level home. It was just your beautiful little builder's grade split little home, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom with a little living room on the bottom that they had used as a TV room. It was evident of that. So as we walked around there, we just felt like we were violating their space. And it was because of so many things that had been there. And, nobody was taking anything. That was the good part. The people who had gone there and who had visited, no one was taking anything, which you can appreciate in a particular situation like this. No one was going to take food or furniture or anything like that. No one was looking through drawers. We sure wasn't. The idea of us going was we literally, my grandmother, wanted to see what was there. And if anything would come to us or anything would, or anyone would contact us. So it was very surreal being there. Sad. Pictures, family pictures, clothing. The smell was not, it was not a normal smell. It was not a smell of rotting food. It wasn't a smell of a dirty home. It was a different smell. And we knew something was there, but we weren't sure. So we were walking around this home. But before I continue this story, I want to take a minute and thank Psychics Secrets properly, and we'll be right back. Hi everyone, this is your friend Zelda Kelly, and I would like to take a minute to invite you to stop over to Psychic Secrets. That's www.psychicsecrets.com. There you can find an advisor that can help you with advice, direction, and guidance that you need. And also, you can read our blog, which has a lot of really, really good little articles and information and can actually answer some questions for you. You can find us here on this same site, this Secrets Mystery Manor. We are there. So you're there already if you found us. But we also have another section, which is the Secrets Laws of Attraction. We have some wonderful videos up, and we would love to have you stop by and take a look at that. Now, I want you to know that Secrets really is here for helping the person. We have qualified, experienced advisors on call 24/7. We have the ability to chat. We have the ability to take a call and actually even a video call if you feel so inclined. So stop on by to psychicsecrets.com. That's www.psychicsecrets, that's two S's in the middle now, psychicsecrets.com, and take advantage of our first-time offer. For those of you who have never called before, first-time customer, we have an offering of 30 minutes for $30. You know, we can get a lot accomplished in 30 minutes. I'm so glad that you stopped by today to listen to Secrets Mystery Manor. And I hope you take the invitation to come on over and check out our advisors. We're here for you. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you soon, and you'll see me on there. I'm extension 11. So back to our podcast. Bye for now. Okay, my dears, thank you so much, and thank you for giving us that time for Psychic Secrets. We really do appreciate you. So, we're walking around this home, and all of a sudden, the air changed, and it was almost like the sun had gone down outside, where it started to become very dark in the home. Now, my grandfather was Italian, didn't think about any of this, didn't really care about it, didn't really want to think about the psychic part of this. He was really just, I think, more curious because he had worked with the gentleman, the father of this family. And so we had really noticed, and he did too, that the home started becoming dark. Now, it was, I would say, 1:30 in the afternoon. So it wasn't a time where it would get dark. And it was quite sunny out. In fact, we were looking outside and the sun was shining. There were no trees, there were no anything that would make this or cause such a shadow for it to become so dark. We noticed this, and it had lasted a while. And of course, my grandmother and I hung together because, quite frankly, I was a little disturbed psychically And I was so glad that my grandmother was there. So these noises that you hear in the background are, you know whose, the little ones. So I just want to let you know they're playing. Okay. So glad they're having a good time. So it's still dark, and it's becoming a little darker. My grandmother says, I don't know what's going on here, but and she's doing this certain hand movement, that she had going on, and she would say, now you need to be gone, and you need to move away. There's nothing for you here. You need to be moving away. And it started to lighten up, and we noticed that as well. We heard a few noises. We heard at one point a door downstairs that closed, and we thought that someone else had come there to look in the home. We didn't think anything about it, and we waited and waited, and there was no one there. So my grandfather went downstairs, and there was no one there, and we just kind of passed it off as, oh, maybe it was the wind, maybe it was just, whatever the case may be. Maybe it was just something. We weren't really thinking too much, although I know my grandmother was, of anything paranormal that was going on. We started walking around, and I was walking around in the living room. They had a pretty big TV for the time that was sitting in the living room. And I would walk past this television, and I wasn't paying attention. Now, of course, the television was off, but you know how it is when you walk in front of a television or you walk in front of something that can reflect, and that you can see yourself and you know who you are. You see, a lamp, or you can see a picture, a sofa, or something in the television. And I walked past, and I thought my grandmother was beside me. And I turned around, and she wasn't there. Well, I walked into another room. I didn't think about it. And when you're in the middle of that, and when you're not going there into a place particularly for an investigation, your mind isn't on these sort of things. Your mind kind of, I think, really passes over anything like that when you're not focused on anything paranormal. And at that point, I was not. But I felt very, very uneasy. And I could feel that someone was behind me, and that's why I felt it was my grandmother. Well, I go in another room, and there's my grandmother. So they had a television in the master bedroom, and my grandmother and I were in there talking about something. I believe it was a bedspread, actually. It was very pretty. And my grandmother, I had my back to the television. My grandmother was at the door, and my grandmother looked at me, and I kind of walked over to the window, and I could see this look on her face that was shock, frankly. The look on her face was, she was pale. And I looked at her and I said, what's going on? And she said, walk over toward the other side of the room for a minute. I walked over to the other side of the room, and I could just see there was an epiphany there in her face, like this light bulb went on. And she said, Zell, you've got to do me a favor and walk past over there again. I did not put two and two together. I didn't realize I was walking in front of a television. And so I walked past this television again. And so my grandmother is standing there rather, and she said, Zell, come on out this way. Let's get out of this room. And I said, why? What's wrong? And she said, no, come on. We're going to get out of this room. So we go into the living room, and the living room was kind of in an L shape and had the kitchen on the other side. And we went in toward the kitchen, and we were looking out the back door and so forth. And And I said, you know, I said, I just feel so sad about this house. I just feel that there's just this dread. And she said, yes, there is a lot of dread and a lot of sadness around this. And we were trying to get to the bottom of asking my grandfather, had there been other family members that were contacted? Because this event, this unfortunate event, had happened very recently, from the time that we had gone into this home. And so it was just a few days before. So I'm positive that the funerals had taken place, everything had taken place. And so I said, you know, I think I'm ready to leave. And it was getting ready to really drop him off to work anyway. We go into the living room, and I walk past the television, and my grandfather said, "What in the," and he said a few little choice words. And I said, what's going on? And I turned around and looked, and I'm going to say this right now. The chills are over me. I turned around and looked, and there was another person standing beside me, reflecting in the television. Now that is what my grandmother saw in the bedroom, was me walking back and forth, and this other, I'm going to say entity, was behind me. And that's what I had felt earlier when I walked and I actually glanced at the television and thought was my grandmother. But I hadn't seen this. Obviously, there were really no mirrors in the home. And I didn't really, there was one in the bedroom, but wasn't reflecting anything except our own reflections. So I just stood there frozen, looking. And this entity didn't move, didn't say anything. When I moved, it moved. And my grandpa, no, we just couldn't say anything. We were just in shock. I mean, what do you say? So my grandmother said, I think it's time for us to be going, you know. And I said, yeah, I think so too. So as I walked past, I had to walk past the television again. I wanted to walk with my eyes closed, but there was a sofa table there, and I was a coffee table, and didn't want to bump into it. And so I kept my eyes open, and in the corner of the of my eye, I saw this. And as I went to move out of the range of where the TV was, whatever that was behind me reached out for me. You could see the reflection. My grandmother screamed. That was one of the first times that I had ever seen her upset. It didn't scare her, but it was shocking. And I mean, well, she didn't like scream like the B movie screams. It was just, you know, it was like an expression. It was like, oh my gosh. And as I walked, and all this was happening, and I walked out of the frame, and I caught the entity reaching out toward me, I turned around and I said, you have to stay here. And just then, that TV went on and was rolling that white, what they call white noise. I tell you right now, I have chills, and that the air is very cool here, and it is, I'm protected. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to, but just the idea of reliving that and telling you again is something that I don't know if I ever want to relive that or see that again. That was, and it was smaller than me. It wasn't as tall as me. Its head, it was like a form. Its head came up to about where my shoulder. I'm pretty tall. I'm 5'10". And so its head came up to about my shoulder. My grandmother was, I don't know, 5'7", 5'8", something like that. My mother was a little shorter than her. My mother wasn't there with us, thank God. But this was, And I say thank God because my mother would have really, really been affected. This was something that was uncanny. So as this white noise is rolling, you can tell there's always interference. Always. You can always tell with a white noise. It just wasn't fuzzy. So this white noise, I had to take a breath. This white noise was rolling, and there were breaks in between. And you could see an outline. We were frozen in our tracks watching this with our mouths open. I don't know if it was trying to communicate, but what I do know is that the three of us were standing in this living room. No one was near a remote. No, I don't even know if it had a remote. No one turned the TV on. Nothing. It just came on, and you could see this entity. Now, I do know that entities come through white noise. And there is this movie that came out years later called White Noise. And you can bet I can't watch it. And this is for one of the biggest reasons why. So, with that being said, we only stood there for a few seconds watching this, and we turned and we grabbed onto each other. And believe me, we hurried out of that house. Now, we didn't make an effort to turn off the TV. It could still be rolling for all I know. I don't know what happened. We never went back to find out. We never asked. Nothing. And so we dropped my grandfather off at work. And my grandmother and I were pretty quiet on the way home. And you can imagine why. We didn't really know what to say. We did ask Grandpa to find out a few things if he could, but he couldn't. And we just decided the best thing to do was drop it and not talk about it. This was something that was unbelievable to many people, except in my family. We believe all this stuff. I mean, that's the way it is. So, as far as I know, it was a few weeks later that they had, I guess the sheriff's office had gotten too many complaints or notices that people were going there and they were visiting this home without invitation. And they taped off this house. They put notices on it, no trespassing, and so forth. And from that moment on, we had gone past there a few times, but that was it. We never revisited again. And unfortunately, I don't know their names. If I did, I don't remember. This has been 40 years ago. I gotta tell you, now I've dated myself, right? So, but that was my experience of going in this home. Were we uninvited as far as they were concerned? I don't know. Were they trying to get us a message? I don't know. Why was an entity following me around in the home? That I certainly don't know, but what I do know is I sure didn't sleep for a few nights, and I sure did not walk in front of any televisions for a long time. So anyway, that's my story, my darlings. And creepy as it is, I hope that maybe someday we'll find answers to these things that happen like this. And I know a lot of you have had experiences. If you've had an experience like this, where you've seen a reflection in a television with no one else is there, please put it down in the comments. And if you'll do us a favor and please like, share, and subscribe to also this channel, we greatly appreciate it. But until we see you the next time, you be well and you stay safe, and you especially have a brave heart. Because in this business, we sure do need it, don't we? This is Zelda Kelly, and I'm signing off for now, but I'll see you again very, very soon. Bye for now. Until next time, thanks so much for listening. I just love this, don't you?